We miss you.
Okay.
You got a seat here.
Oh, just grab your seats. Wherever you can space out a little. Thank you. Everybody's good. Yeah. Well, Gemar Chatima Tova, everyone. May you be inscribed for a year of good health and fulfillment, and may this year be one of health and happiness and peace. So Yom Kippur has come again, and once again we stand together amidst challenging times. Last year we all were at home, and this year we take cautious steps back into the world. No matter where we may be tonight, this community, this congregation is more than simply walls and stone and beautiful space. It is people who are linked together through values and history and future. And as much as the prayers that connect us to each other and to the divine are important, so too are the words we say to those we love. So once again, I ask you this year to take a moment in the coming days to pick up the phone and reach out to those who you care deeply for and share the words that are imprinted upon your hearts. Our time on this earth is finite, and the words we say can be holy. May time and our words reflect our values that we hold dear today and every day. As has been our custom, we have the pleasure of hearing from our temple's president, Brent Arnold. What a year this has been for our president. Navigating these storms of the past year has been an extraordinary feat, and we're truly blessed to have a person of Brent's sensitivity and vision and patience and koach and strength and enthusiasm and kindness leading our congregation. His work and the work of all of our synagogue's leadership, the committee chairs and volunteers ensure the Congregation Shalom will remain the strong, vibrant, and sacred place that we all hold dear in our hearts. Brent, we're grateful for your energy and passion that you put towards this holy work. Gemar Chatima Tova.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. Good Yontif, my fellow Shalom congregants. Welcome back home. Last year at this time, this sanctuary was completely empty. No faces to look out to, no choir members here to move our souls, and I was giving this speech into a single camera located right about here. I am so grateful this year to feel your presence, to be praying again in unison with you all, having the prayerful leadership of our wonderful rabbi, being moved by the amazingly soulful voice of Cantor Perper, along with our talented Shalom choir. It really is a blessing to be back with you all tonight on Kol Nidre. Congregation Shalom, all of our staff, our clergy, our board, our teachers, and our community has overcome one of the most challenging years in our congregation's history. Never could we ever imagined having to pivot in new ways to reach our congregants. Students learning Torah through a tablet on their kitchen tables, funerals taking place in Zoom rooms, Shabbat songs from Cantor's basement studio, bar and bat mitzvahs streamed out from our backyards, weddings and other life cycle events getting postponed and then rescheduled, Shabbat services in our parking lot, board meetings with trustees tuning in from all over the nation. Thank you all for staying patient and committed through this unprecedented year. All our committees continue to do some really amazing work here at Congregation Shalom. Social Action found great ways to provide much-needed meals safely to our Milwaukee neighbors, all while supporting a local minority-owned caterer. Our membership committee found new ways to welcome our newest members to our Shalom community. Our Voices for Justice committee successfully launched a Shalom Votes campaign to make sure that 100% of our congregants were educated voters and executed their civil duty to go vote. We also had some difficult conversations regarding race relations in our community and participated in an interfaith Martin Luther King Day ceremony. This year, we established a new Shalom Dayenu circle for us to ever be mindful of the environment we forever interact with. We will be pursuing clean, safe, and lead-free drinking water for all of our community. We are looking to participate and support in local composting programs. We will be looking at ways that we can cut down on our power consumption and have started a conversation on ways that we can develop a Jewish community solar farm. There really are so many great things going on here at Shalom for you to get involved in, and I look forward to more programs and events to come as we continue to get back together in person. The Budget and Finance Committee remains committed to making sure congregation is fiscally responsible and remains prosperous this year. Our Education Committee is also dedicated to making sure that religious school and Hebrew school return in person successfully for all our students and our teachers. And our Culture of Philanthropy Committee is working hard to see that Congregation Shalom remains strong and vibrant for years to come. We recently got the pleasure to welcome our new Assistant Rabbi, Taylor Pozlowski, and our new Director of Congregational Learning, Brian Avner, to Shalom. They are already both doing some great things, and I look forward to seeing them make their lasting marks on our community here soon. This year also marked the 10-year anniversaries of our Senior Rabbi, Noah Chertkoff, and our Executive Director, Linda Hollifield. Linda's work ethic and commitment to our congregation is really remarkable and very much appreciated. And for 10 really dedicated years, Rabbi Noah has blessed our community in some of our most precious moments. He has provoked our minds, moved our souls, and prayed alongside us when we needed it the most. Thank you both for leading our congregation for 10 great years with such dignity and passion. Congregation Shalom has always been your Jewish home. We have such an excellent community of great, dedicated people here. We really do miss seeing everyone, all in person, at services. We are doing everything we can to make sure that our congregants and our building is safe for everyone to attend. For those of you watching virtually tonight, when you are ready, we look forward to being able to welcome you back in person. We have lots of safe space for you to feel comfortable here in our sanctuary. Our clergy and staff also look forward to seeing you all again. Please feel free to join us here for any one of the upcoming indoor or outdoor services. These great services begin tomorrow for Yom Kippur and continue for Shabbat services, Sukkot, and Simchas Torah. I look forward to the day where we can all feel comfortable being together once again. From my family to all of yours, I'd like to wish you all a year of health, happiness, and a little more socialization. L'shana tova.
Shana Tova. Thank you so much, Brent, for those wonderful words. It's good to call you our president. It's better to call you a chaver, our friend. It's a joy to spend these holidays with you. It's now my privilege to invite Cantor Karen Berman to lead us in the kindling of our Yuntov candles on page 9. Cantor Karen, it's truly wonderful to stand with you on this bima. Perhaps one of the most difficult aspects of this past year for our community is that we've not been able to fully show how deeply we appreciate you and the profound nature of our gratitude for your service to our congregation and to our family of families. But like the candles you're kindling, we know that the light you bring stretches out beyond this moment and as soon as it is safe to do so, we will celebrate that light together. We all pray that you continue from strength to strength. Let us now continue on page 9 as we kindle our Yontif lights.
At the top of the page together. The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us. Guided by the flame of conscience, on this sacred night, we search for truth. Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love. We light the flame of healing and forgiveness. On this atonement night, we give thanks for love. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Yom HaKippurim. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on Yom Kippur.
We all sing together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Yom HaKippurim.
Please rise now for the Shechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Source of blessing, eternal, our God. You fill the universe with majestic might, giving us life, upholding the life within us, and bringing us to this time.
Amen.
You may be seated. We turn now to what has always been a profoundly moving part of our Yom Kippur services, to call upon Mark Berman and his quartet to guide us in a musical meditation. The haunting music of Kol Nidre is made more holy by the knowledge that it is offered by such truly magnificent artists. 58 years we've had the privilege to be uplifted by you, Mark, and it is truly a very special gift. Thank you, Mark, for the extraordinary musician that you are and the mensch that you are, and for providing the music of these wonderful musicians. We meditate now on the powerful music of Kol Nidre. once again, we thank you so much for so beautifully portraying the music and the feeling of Kol Nidre and setting the tone for this evening. Atonement Day has come, and as we prepare ourselves for the Kol Nidre as it is chanted and read, we call upon Jeff and Marty Sterin to offer words of reflection as we enter the gates of Teshuvah on page 14.
Yom Kippur, the Jewish people's festival of the soul, and Kol Nidre, its sacred portal. This is a night of deep emotions, a night, as the psalmist wrote, to rejoice with trembling.
We rejoice at the sound of Kol Nidre, rhythmic words of release from vows, oaths, and promises to God that we fail to keep.
We tremble at the melody, music of spiritual amazement. It fills us with awe as we stand before God in Torah.
We rejoice that we stand together, strengthened by community, in this hour of shared weakness and humility.
We tremble, for tonight we confess our flaws, admit our imperfections, and acknowledge a power far beyond our understanding.
We rejoice that we commit ourselves to great endeavors because we feel so deeply and think so nobly.
We tremble, for we find that our ideals are far greater than our abilities. Our promises surpass our might.
We rejoice in the freedom that is Kol Nidre's true gift, the freedom to begin a new year without fear of failure, to aspire to be God's image in the world.
We tremble because we are mortal, and we rejoice in our gratitude for life.
We rejoice with trembling and enter Kol Nidre to face our humanity.
Thank you, Jeff and Martin. It's wonderful to see Father and Son stand here together on this Yom Kippur. We now call upon Ken and Dee Stein to come forward, and they will open up our ark doors in just a moment. The Torah scrolls will enter our sanctuary, and as they do, we ask that you turn in their direction, but not reach out to touch them this year with our hands. Rather, let our Torah scrolls touch our hearts. We turn to page 16 as we rise, as our Torah scrolls will enter into our midst. With one voice, assembled sages, past and present, declare, all may pray as one on this night of repentance. Let none be excluded from our community of prayer. With one voice, God and congregation proclaim, all may pray as one on this day of return. Let all find a place in this sacred assembly.
בשבעה של מעלה ובשבעה של מטה, על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל, אנו מתירים להתפלל עם ההוויינים.
We turn to page 18 for Kol Nidre.
Yom Kippur Eve. Yehon Sharon. Yehon Sharon. Eterin umevutalin.
We read together on page 19. Give us the strength to keep our promises, the sacred vows of partners in marriage, the promises of love and care between parents and children, the promises of duty between citizens and country, the oaths of doctors, the sacred trust of teachers. Give us the strength to keep our promises to our friends and colleagues, to those who live with us and depend on us, to those who work for us and those for whom we work, to those who pray with us and those for whom we pray, to those we love and those we serve. Give us the courage to keep our promises to ourselves, to one another, and to future generations. On page 20, all shall be forgiven, the entire community of Israel, and the stranger who lives in their midst, for all have gone astray in error. Moses prayed to God, as you have been faithful to this people ever since Egypt, please forgive their failings now, in keeping with your boundless love.
V'sham ne'emar, vayomer Adonai, salachti kidvarecha, vayomer Adonai, salachti kidvarecha, vayomer Adonai, salachti kidvarecha, vayomer Adonai, salachti kidvarecha, vayomer Adonai, salachti kidvarecha.
And God responded, I forgive as you have asked. We turn now to page 22. Thank you all. Rabbi Judah ben Samuel taught, chant your supplications to God in a melody that makes the heart weep, and your praises of God in one that will make it sing. Thus you will be filled with love and joy for the one who sees the heart. We turn now to the call to prayer.
Baruch hu
read with me in the Hebrew on page 24. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi laila, uma'avdil bein yom uvein laila, Adonai tzavaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam ba'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, creator of twilight and dusk. Please turn to page 26, and we'll read together. Love beyond all space and time, your love enfolds your people, Yisrael. We receive it in your teaching, your gift of Torah, sacred obligations, discipline, and law. So let us speak these teachings when we lie down and when we rise up, and find joy forever in your Torah and mitzvot. They are the very essence of our life, ours to ponder and study all our days. May we never lose or be unworthy of your love. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. For you are blessed, the one who loves your people, Yisrael. We turn now to page 28. You are my witnesses, says Adonai. God is the first, God is the last. There is no God but Adonai. Testify for me, says Adonai. In your love for me, teach your children, embracing Torah now and forever. We accept God's sovereignty in reverence, treating others with love, studying Torah. May this be our will as we witness.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto,
Please be seated. We'll continue on page 30.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. Adonai, your God, is true. We continue on page 39. And we'll read responsively. Our sages taught it is proper to mention the exodus from Egypt in our morning prayers and also at night.
We celebrate the going out from Egypt in the morning light, full of confidence and vigor as we enter the new day.
But in the evening, weary from the day's exertions, cast down and fearful at the coming of the night, what can the Exodus teach us then?
Our nighttime prayer brings hope and trust in the future. As God did not abandon our people long ago through the long, dark night of exile, so the Holy One will be with us in time to come, to stand by the one you love. That is the true essence of faithfulness, the meaning of emunah.
So it is written in the Psalms, to proclaim your kindness in the morning and your faithfulness in the nights.
Sing with joy in the mornings of your life, when light surrounds you and the world seems beautiful and good, and in the evenings of your life, when you dwell in sorrow and the world seems dark. Do not despair.
We'll turn to Mi Chamocha on page 40.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot ol sefele, malchutecha ra'u v'anecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Zeli anu ve'ameru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar kifada Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miad chazak mimenu baruch ata Adonai gal Yisrael.
We'll turn to page 42. Bless our sleep with peace, Adonai, and awaken us to life when we rise. With power sublime, spread over us your shelter of shalom, and through your wisdom restore us. Make us whole. Let your name proclaim your presence in our lives. Be our shield. Make us stronger than the enemies we face. Illness and war, famine and sorrow, and stronger than the enemies in our hearts, wickedness and sin. Carry us to safety as on wings. For you are the monarch of grace, the sovereign of compassion. You are the one who cares for us and sets us free. Watch over us, we who go forth to life. Watch over us so that we may come home in peace, now until the end of time. Together, Baruch Atah Adonai, Haporei Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Amo Yisrael, Ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed One, you spread over us a canopy of peace, a shelter of shalom over all Israel, your people, and over Jerusalem. And we'll continue on page 45 with the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadal ve'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Amen. Be'alma divra chirutei ve'yamlich malchutei b'chayechol uve'yomechol uve'chayetechol beit Yisrael b'hagala uvizman kari ve'imeru Amen. Yesh me'rabam mevarach le'alam le'almei almaya yitbarach ויתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו Amen.
We now rise for the tefillah on page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agite hilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'Konei HaKol Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot Umevi geula livnei vneihem Lema'an shemo be'ahava Chozer u'Moshia u'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah Amen Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai Mechaye hakol ata rav lehoshia morid hatal Mechal kel chayim bechesed Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim Somech noflim verofei cholim Umatir asurim Umekayem emunato Lishenei afar Michamocha ba'al gevurot Umidom elach Melech memit umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua Michamocha El Harachamim Zolche Yetzurav Lechaim ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, ukadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. You are holy, your name is holy. Seekers of holiness praise you day by day. Please be seated. We'll turn to page 63. We'll read responsively. Like smoke above the altar, may a memory of us ascend and come before you.
As Israel once came to you with offerings from the flock, so we bring to you the offerings of our mouth, not lip service, but heartfelt prayer.
So the prophet taught, "Return, O Israel, to Adonai your God, for you have fallen because of your sin. Take words with you and return to Adonai."
Accept the words we set before you, awkward and imperfect as they are, our hesitant questions, our corrosive doubts. Accept, too, our silences, our thoughts that rise in the stillness, our faith that coheres for a fragile instant that dissipates like smoke above the altar.
Please turn to page 64. Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo letova,
Amen.
ufokdenu vo livracha,
Amen.
v'hoshienu vo lechaim.
Amen.
Eternal our God, remember us.
Amen.
Be mindful of us.
Amen.
And redeem us for a life of goodness and blessing.
Amen.
Favor us with words of deliverance and mercy. Show us the depth of your care. God, we await your redemption, for you reign with grace and compassion. Please turn to page 71. We'll read responsively at the bottom. On this night of atonement, grant us, God, a sense of your presence as we call upon your name.
Speak your hopeful message to each yearning heart and answer the worthy petitions of each searching soul.
Purify and strengthen our noble strivings and cleanse us of all our unworthy desires.
Join us together in fellowship and in love, and grant us the joy which comes from enriching others' lives.
Help us to be loyal to the heritage we share. Draw us near to Torah in wisdom and in faith.
Strengthen our devotion to our people everywhere. Keep alive our faith in righteousness and truth.
Bless us with hopes to uplift our daily lives and keep steadfast our courage and our resolve at all times.
On this night of atonement, help us, God, to be worthy of your presence as we call upon your name.
Please turn to page 72 for Ritzeh.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amecha Yisrael utefilatam be'ahava tekabel Tehi leratzon Tamid avodat Yisrael Yisrael Amecha El Karov Lechol Kore'av Penei El Avadecha V'choneinu Shefoch Ruchacha חזנה עינינו בשובך לציון.
We continue on page 74. Modim anachnu lach, she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu le'olam va'ed, tzur chayenu mageni shenu, atahu lidor vador. We read responsively. God who is ours, God of all generations, to you we are grateful forever.
Rock and protector of our lives, your saving power endures from age to age.
We thank you and tell the tale of your praise, your power in our lives, your caring for our souls, the constant miracle of your kindness.
Morning, noon, and night, we call you goodness, for your compassion never ends. We call you mercy, for your love has no limit. We call you hope, now and for all time.
And for all these gifts, God of majesty, may your name come to be blessed and praised, our gratitude a daily offering until the end of time. And may all life resound with gratitude and faith in praise of your name. God, you free us and strengthen us. Baruch atah Adonai, Hatov Shimcha Ulecha Na'eh Lehodot. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose goodness deserves thanks and praise. We turn now to page 78 for the prayer for peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol eit uvechol sha'a bishlomecha besefer chaim bracha v'shalom ufarnasa tova L'chaim tovim, l'chaim tovim, u'shalom. Baruch atah Adonai, oseh hashalom.
We now take time for a moment of silent meditation. We say the prayer of Vidui to voice our transgressions, to own up to our poor choices. Saying it out loud is the first step of teshuvah, repentance or returning. Before we can start to mend our ways, first we have to name our bad behavior. And we recite it communally. We take responsibility for one another and make sure that all of the sins of the community are atoned for, without shaming any individual. In a moment, we will stand and put our right hand over our hearts. As we list the sins off, we will thump our chests. With each thump, our hearts break a little more, just as they did when we sinned. Rabbi Laura Geller describes the action as knocking on her heart, cracking it open and making it vulnerable. In this way, it is not just to remind us of the pain we caused ourselves, but to open our hearts to the pain of others. We continue with Vidui on page 82. Please rise. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, tavo lefanecha tefilatenu, ve'al titalam mitchinatenu. We read the English together. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong.
Ay, 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 ay. Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Diparnu Dolfi, ay, 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 Hevinu, Vehirshanu, Zadnu, Chamasnu, Tafalnu Shaker, ay, 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 Yatsnu Ra, Kizavnu, Latsnu, Maradnu, Niatsnu, ay, 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 Sararnu, Avinu, Pashanu, Tsararnu, Kishinu Oref, ay, 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 Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Ta'inu, Titanu.
Of these wrongs we are guilty. Together we betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely. We are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander. We devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey. We abuse, we defy, we corrupt, we commit crimes. We are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill, we spoil, we go astray, we lead others astray. Please be seated. We'll turn to page 89. With this long confession, vidui rava, we will go into more detail about the sins we have committed. These contemporary reflections on the themes of integrity, justice, and love bring home our time-honored Jewish wisdom. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha. We wrong you
when we wrong ourselves. For our failures of integrity, Adonai, we seek forgiveness.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For passing judgment without knowledge of the facts, and for distorting facts to suit our purposes.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For succumbing in silence to social pressure, and for acquiescing in beliefs we find offensive.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For using others' bad behavior to excuse our own, and for blaming others for our mistakes and poor decisions.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For pretending to emotions we do not feel, and for appearing to be other than what we are.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For condemning in our children the faults we tolerate in ourselves, and for tolerating in ourselves the faults we condemn in our parents.
Failures of justice. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
We dishonor you when we dishonor our society. For our failures of justice, Adonai, we seek forgiveness.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For being indifferent to deprivation and hunger, while accepting a culture of self-indulgence and greed.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For abuse of power in boardrooms, courtrooms, and classrooms, and for accepting the neglect of children and elders, the ill and the weak.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For permitting social inequalities to prevail, and for lacking the vision to transcend our selfishness.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For glorifying violence and turning hastily to war, and for allowing history to repeat itself.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For behaviors that risk the future of our planet, and for wreaking havoc on our only true inheritance, God's creation.
On page 91, failures of love. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
We sin against you when we hurt one another. For our failures of love, Adonai, we seek forgiveness.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For exploiting another for our own pleasure, and for the wounds we cause through betrayal and deception.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For withholding affection from those we claim to love, and for using love to control our spouses and partners, our children and parents.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For abandoning friends and siblings whose love has sustained us, and for neglecting those who love us when they need us most.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For harboring in our relationships mistrust, boredom, and disloyalty, and for rejecting our partner's efforts at repair and renewal.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha.
For possessiveness, jealousy, and avarice, and for lashing out in anger at those who are closest to us.
Who among us is blameless? Who shall say, I have not erred, and I have not wronged or sinned? We abuse, we brutalize, we covet, we deceive, we enslave, we feud, we gossip, we humiliate, we injure, we judge unfairly, we kill, we lie, we manipulate, we neglect, we ostracize, we plagiarize, we quarrel, we rage, we shame, we turn away, we undermine, we vilify, we waste, we exploit the earth, we yearn too much for yesterday, and too easily forget Zion. Our sins are an alphabet of woe. Help us, Holy One, to follow your ways of integrity, justice, and love. Teach us to seek forgiveness with humility and an open heart.
For all these wrongs, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, and lead us to atonement. Ve'al kulam elo selichot, selach lanu mechalanu, kapelanu. Ve'al kulam elo selichot, selach lanu mechalanu, selach lanu mechalanu, kapelanu.
Please turn to page 98.
Shema Koleinu Adonai ברחמים וברצון את השיבנו אדוני אליך, השיבנו אליך ונשובה, חדש ימינו, כקדם. אמרנו האזין אדוני בנהגיגנו, יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורנו וגואלנו, אל תשליכנו מלפניך, ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממנו. אל תשליכנו אל תשליכנו תרחק ממנו, כי לך אדוני הוכלנו, אתה תענה אדוני אלוהינו. Shema Koleinu Adonai Eloheinu Chus verachem Aleinu V'kabel berachamim Uvrachamim
Please turn to page 100 and read responsively. My mistake. We're turning to page 104. As parents show tenderness to their children, may you show mercy to those who worship you. Like the heavens that tower above the earth, your love is powerful for those who revere you. Liberation is a gift from God, a blessing upon your people. You are the God of all we can perceive, our haven, the God of Yaakov, and you are the God of all that is beyond our perception, the one who has fallen, the one who has faith in you is fortunate. The sovereign God, show us the way to freedom. Answer us on this day of our calling out to you. Moses prayed to God, as you have been faithful to this people ever since Egypt, please forgive their failings now, in keeping with your boundless love. And God responded, Salachti kidvarecha, I forgive as you have asked. Now please turn to page 106.
Our God and God of our ancestors, we are your people, and you are our God, and you are our God. We are your children, and you are our father and our mother. We are the people who serve you.
And you call us to serve.
We are your community.
And you are our portion.
We are your legacy.
And you are our purpose.
We are your flock.
And you are our shepherd.
We are your vineyard.
And you watch over us.
We are your work.
And you are our maker.
We are your beloved.
And you are our lover.
We are your treasure.
And you are the one we cherish.
We are your people.
And you reign over us.
We offer you our words.
And you offer us yours.
So forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. We are going to turn now to page 114. As we turn to Avinu Malkeinu, it's a joy to call upon Wendy and Warren and Lauren Blumenthal to step forward as they open up our ark doors. We rise now as we turn to the sacred words of Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol aleinu ve'al olaleinu v'tapenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families.
Avinu Malkeinu kalei dever v'cherev v'ra'av me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu kalei kol tsar umastin me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu kodvenu b'sefer chayim tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu chadesh aleinu shana tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu malei yadeinu mi birchotecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings.
Avinu Malkeinu harem keren mishichecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption.
Avinu Malkeinu na'al teshivenu rekam milfanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we pray, do not turn us away from you with nothing.
Avinu Malkeinu kabel barachamim uvratzon et tefilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it.
Avinu Malkeinu aseh imanu lema'an shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu aseh lema'ancha im lo lema'anenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours.
Avinu Malkeinu ein lanu melech ela ata.
Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu petach sha'arei shamayim litfilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer.
Avinu Malkeinu shma kolenu chus v'rachem aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice, treat us with tender compassion.
Avinu Malkeinu chonenu ve'anenu ki en banu ma'asim. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, chonenu v'anenu, ki en banu ma'asim, aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, v'hoshienu, aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, v'hoshienu.
You may be seated. There are some truly wonderful Wisconsin expressions that I've become accustomed to hearing. After 10 years of living here, I even find myself using them too. Bubbler is a delightful expression. A horse apiece is now my favorite. It's so much easier than saying 1/2 dozen of the other. But I was ill-prepared for a term that caused significant confusion. When Lauren was pregnant, she, like many pregnant women, had cravings. And one craving that I particularly enjoyed at the time was a craving for hamburgers. I did not object to the many visits I made to a local hamburger joint to bring back burgers for us to share. But on one such visit, I had a challenging run-in. I paid for the burgers in cash and was handed a receipt. But I realized after the transaction that I needed the cash for something else. I told this to the clerk, and I asked if I could have the cash back and pay for the burgers using my credit card. And the clerk looked at me and with a completely straight face and with no hint of sarcasm at all, said, "I'm sorry, but once the transaction is completed, I can't open the register. Perhaps you should find a time machine." Now, I had read H.G. Wells's Time Machine as a child. I'd seen the movies too, But I was dumbstruck by this comment. I looked at him and he looked at me, and I said, well, that seems like a lot of work. And I got nothing, no reaction from him at all. He just continued to look at me while I was waiting for his joke to end. I said to him, you know you sound crazy. And he looked like he was getting frustrated with me, and he said, no, you sound crazy. Now, some of you might be catching on that this was an unusual conversation, and some of you longtime Milwaukeeans might know why. And for those of you who don't, I promise I'll tell you in the end, or maybe you can ask somebody who's laughing. But what is important to know is that in that moment, the world just stopped making sense. And that feeling of the world not making sense, well, I've had it now for a couple of years. I, like you, have watched as our world and our expectations for what might be normal have been turned on its head. So on this Yom Kippur, I want to offer you some advice. It may seem a bit unusual, but I think it might provide us with what we need to transcend this extraordinarily challenging time. Here it is. Perhaps you should find a time machine. I know, strange advice, but let me explain. During our high holiday services, there's a refrain that we hear over and over. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva chadesh yameinu kikedem. We also sing these words as we return the Sefer Torah to the Ark each and every Shabbat and holiday. Chadesh yameinu kikedem have always been words that I find particularly meaningful and poignant. They are, renew our days as in the past. It's a plea through time. We are looking to the future, asking for renewal, but we are also looking to our past for inspiration to light our way. This is a chaotic time, and we need to find a path into the future. But the only way we'll get there as a people and as a community and as a congregation is by understanding from where we have come. Marshall McLuhan, a wonderful academic scholar of communications, once shared this truth. We drive into the future using only our rear view mirrors. So let us take an imaginary time machine back to understand where we might be going. Let us imagine our first stop in the year 70 of the Common Era in Jerusalem. It was a time of destruction. The people of Jerusalem were under siege by the Romans, and it seemed that all was lost. The Talmud described the scene. The revered Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai came to the realization that Jerusalem was going to be destroyed. And so the rabbi took the bold step of escaping in a coffin through the walls of the great city, pretending he had died. Perhaps a part of him had died with the tragedies that he had seen within the walls of his beloved city, the total collapse of his society and way of life. There was disease and infighting, mistrust and enmity. There was anger and hatred aimed beyond the walls, but also aimed within. But when Rabbi Yochanan emerged on the other side, he knew he had to pivot for the sake of his people and plot a path for Judaism. The future depended on it. So Rabbi Yochanan found the Roman general Vespasian, the man who lay siege to his home, and he spoke with him. Through humility and flattery, he convinced Vespasian of a compromise, and they worked out a deal. And through that deal, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai abandoned the political seat of power in Jerusalem and established a new center of learning in Yavne. This challenging story, set amidst one of the greatest tragedies of our people, has impacted us in profound ways. We are the spiritual inheritors of the Academy of Yavne. Yavne was where Rabbinic Judaism, the Judaism that we are familiar with, began. This was where our way of life that centers around the Torah was uplifted. And while the sacrificial rites of the great temple and the political royalty of the past burned within the walls of our holy city, this was the moment where our religion truly became portable, and we have spread out all over the world, from the trade routes of Rome and beyond. We bear the scars of the collapse of Jerusalem to this very day. And yet, despite the tragedy of it all, the loss and confusion, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai charted a course to the future. And he did so by pivoting when it was most necessary. And we have survived because of that decision. We owe who we are to the decisions of one man amidst challenge and tragedy. We owe our existence to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's ability to pivot. Now let's take our time machine to a little over a year ago. Who would have believed that our community would have faced a pandemic that would rock the world? I never, in my wildest dreams, could have imagined creating High Holidays the movie last year, conducting life cycle events over Zoom and services over YouTube. I never would have imagined the successes and the failures of our efforts amidst a suddenly vastly different world. But like Yavna, we pivoted. I also didn't imagine that the High Holidays this year would still occur under the specter of COVID, a hybrid service allowing for so many of you to be at home spiritually with us tonight, along with those of you here with us physically. Yes, this most certainly feels different, but pivot we have, and we will continue to do so. What has allowed us to adapt so readily? We are a people of historic adaptation. We are a people of the pivot. Yavna was a moment in time, but we could have just as easily had our time machine stop at the expulsion from Spain in 1492, the creation of the printing press, the enlightenment of Europe in the 17th and 18th century, the founding of the United States, the founding of the State of Israel, the civil rights movement, the rise of modern feminism, the rise of the acceptance of the LGBTQ+ community. Each of these events have shaped a Judaism that is well equipped to meet the changing nature of our world. We are the people of the pivot, and we have renewed our days as in the past. That Ner Tamid hanging over our heads, the eternal flame, it has shone brightly for millennia, because with passion and creativity, we have kept that flame alive. So turning our synagogue into a television studio, we did it. Finding ways to manage this hybrid world, bring it on. And there are 3 reasons I have such confidence today in our community. The first is that we are a people who do not stem the tide of history. Rather, we ride on its crest with Torah in our arms, always willing to make it relevant for the next generation. For when every generation, every person meets Torah in their own way, then we keep the Torah as a living document, and therefore we keep Judaism as a living religion. The second reason I'm so confident is that we bear the values of those who walked the world before us. No matter what vehicle, stories, laws, or ritual, our values have been passed in a sacred chain of tradition from one generation to the next, right up to us in a time in which we need our core values the most. The third reason I'm so confident today in our community is that I know you. Today is Yom Kippur. It's the Day of Atonement. And while it is a day to review our actions in the past year, so too it is a time to review moments throughout our lives. This sanctuary on Yom Kippur, it is a moment out of time. It is, in essence, a time machine. Let each of us ride that time machine back to explore from where our individual strengths might come. In each of your lives, there are moments of heartbreak and triumph. There are moments that bring with them strength and vulnerability. There are moments when you overcame challenges that you never thought could possibly be overcome. Each of us has personal moments like Jerusalem burning, moments of deep challenges and pain. And each of us has felt moments where we transcended those challenges of our world. We have striven for a better life for ourselves and for those we love, and each of us has had to change our plans to meet the reality of our present day. I want you to close your eyes and think of all of those past events that have prepared you for right now, for this moment. Think of the strength and the goodness that you bear and you bring to bear into the world. You have been preparing for now, this present moment, your whole life. And now you're ready to chart a path to what comes next. We have been through a challenging 2 years, that is for sure. But we have dreams for the future. Now, after all that we have transcended is not the time to stop. This is Congregation Shalom's 70th Yom Kippur service. That's truly meaningful. I wonder if we were to get into our time machine and travel 70 years from now, what would we discover? Here's what I believe we would find. Jewish life at Congregation Shalom will be different than it is today. There will be new rituals and new practices. The people in the sanctuary will most certainly have changed, and the world will be ever changing with them. There will be times in which the sanctuary will be a haven from the inevitable winds that will drive society onward. And there will be times when the voices from within this sanctuary will demand that we change to meet the needs beyond the windows of our congregational home. Through time and event, we will pivot again and again and again. We will adapt and grow and meet the needs as they come. And the inheritors of our faith, the inheritors of Shalom, will look forward with hope and renewal, all while looking to the past, looking to us as examples of what it means to pivot, to change, while holding tight to our values, and therefore to be a light to guide their path. They will place the Torah in the ark and look above to the light that will never be extinguished, and they will say as we do, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem, renew our days as in the past. There will always be times of confusion, and sometimes it won't be as easy to transcend as the day at that hamburger joint when the man across the counter finally figured out that I wasn't from around here and explained that a time machine is what people in the region called their ATMs when Time Bank, spelled T-Y-M-E, made them available to the public decades ago. No, he was not suggesting that I get or build a time machine to fix the error of paying in cash. There's a funny little misunderstanding, but sometimes the confusion in our lives won't be so easily allayed. It will seem insurmountable. It will feel as though the future is uncertain and filled with twists and turns, but we are a people of the pivot. We are practiced at bringing forward our core values while adapting to meet the needs of every generation, and each of you has the strength within to persevere, come what may. Yes, we are driving into the future with only our rear-view mirrors, but they are mirrors that reflect our strength and our resilience. They reflect our hopes and our aspirations. They reflect who we are and who we are becoming. Let us travel on into that future together. So let this year, 5782, be one of flexibility and inspiration. Let our 70th year be one of renewal and vision. And may this year be a year in which all of us look deeply into the past we share and the past that is ours alone, and see the strength that lies within, and look forward with confidence to face the promise of a new day. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May this be God's will.
Avinu Malkeinu Chonenu Va'anenu Ki ein banu ma'asim. Avinu Malkeinu Chonenu Va'anenu Ki ein banu ma'asim. Aseh imanu tzedaka v'chesed ve'hoshienu. Aseh imanu tzedaka v'chesed ve'hoshienu. imanu tzedakah v'chesed ve'holshienu. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed ve'holshienu. Avinu malkeinu choneinu va'aneinu ayin banu
I want to thank Cantor and Wendy and Paul and Norma and our entire choir for such beautiful music that has uplifted us over these high holidays. Hearing you has been absolutely extraordinary and uplifting and brings our prayers to a whole new level. Thank you for all of your hard work, all of the practice that you put in. We are going to turn now in our Machzor to page 116 as we conclude our service as we turn to the Aleinu. Please rise as we turn to page 116.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, latet gedula le'yotze breshit, shelo asanu kegoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vekor aleinu ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
You may be seated. Particularly during the high holidays, particularly in seasons like this, we remember those who have passed away. When we search for the future and we search our hearts, we look back, we realize that much of our strength come from those who walked the earth before us. We are thinking of these dear people who have passed into life eternal during this week, for whom we mark their Shiva. We think of Arlene Arbiter, Kevin Cox, and Ruth Sherwin. To those names, too, we add those for whom we are commemorating the period of Shloshim, the 30-day mourning period. We think of Mark Ackerman of Orlando, not our congregant Mark Ackerman here in Milwaukee. We think of Ed Asner, Stella Burton, Adrian Kachardimos, Joan Levine, Stephen Levy, Bertrand Lubel Stolzer, Norman Sheminsky, and Gerald Zupnik. In addition to the names of our loved ones who have passed during the period of Shloshim, we think of those who have walked this earth before us, and though they have passed in seasons gone by, we still think of them dearly. This week we mark the yahrzeit of Ezekiel Afram, Sheldon Morton Barnett, Esther Berman, Eunice Spiller, Gerald Bodner, Nell Bruskin, William Cash, Gene Siegel, Irv Cohen, Norma Ansher Cranberg, Ann Descher, Lena Drutch, Theodore Ellison, Jack Feller, Sarah Gill, Phyllis Gilson, Larry Glick, Rose Goldstein, Sidney Greenfield, Irene Habish, Donald Hack, Beth Gale Hurst, Alfred M. Hurwitz, Merwin Hurwitz, Diane Kahn, Claire Katz, Dale Kolstad, Albert Levin, Lori Lubotsky, Betty Mendelblatt, Neil Minkin, Mike Nolte, David Pash, Alan Philip Pearson, Harris Riley, Mary Rosenberg, Esther Sapiro, Martin Schneider, Robert Schuster, Ben Shapiro, Prentice K. Shapiro, Gertrude Sharp, Ronnie Sherman, Louis Stein, Selma Stein, Sidney Lauren Tabakin, Glicka Ugent, Katie Wakeford, David Warshaw, Janice Weist, Michael Winston, Francis Shapiro Wise, Saul Wolfson, Louise Zimmerman, Minette K. Zimmerman. If there are names that should be added to this list or names that should be pronounced differently than I did, please do say those names out loud as I look in your direction. In addition to the names of our loved ones, we think of all of those who have died due to war and or terrorism. We think of all of those who have died due to this terrible virus that has stricken our world. We think of those who have perished due to the virus of xenophobia. We think of those who have died in defense of this nation and allied nations' ideals, as well as all those who perished during the Holocaust. Our griefs and sympathies are mingled as we turn to words that are sanctified by memory, words glorified by hope. The Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, can be found on page 122. We rise now as one community as we recite these sacred words. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash me Rabba, B'alma divrach chirute v'amlich malchute, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Leolam Ulalmei Amaya. Yit Barach V'ishtabach V'itpa'ar V'tromam V'itnaseh. V'itadar V'italev V'italal Shmei Dekudisha Brichu. La'ela Ul'ela Mikol Birchata V'shirata. Tush Bechata V'nechemata. Da'amiran Be'alma V'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated. Once again, it's a great pleasure to call upon our congregational president, Brent Arnold, to make some brief announcements on behalf of the congregation. Gamar Tov, Brent.
Thank you, Rabbi. A couple quick announcements tonight before we conclude our service. We welcome you all back here tomorrow morning for our 9 o'clock Yom Kippur service. It's almost that time. Our Yom Kippur family service will take place tomorrow outside at Doctors Park at 11:30 a.m. The Yom Kippur study session will be online tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. with Rabbi Noah and Dr. Steve Moffick as they discuss trauma and resiliency, how Judaism can help us come out of these pandemic times stronger. Then the reading of Jonah will also take place virtually tomorrow at 3:30, and then the Yisker and Ne'ilah service will conclude tomorrow here in our sanctuary starting at 4:30 p.m. A reminder that religious school begins in person on this Sunday, September 19th. And on Erev Sukkot, which is Monday, September 20th at 5:45, there will be a service in the Warner Family Sukkah. So please RSVP to Abby for that. Then on Sunday, September 26th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon will be a family religious day, a family religious school day at JCC's Rainbow Day Camp, where we will celebrate consecration and Simchas Torah. I'd like to wish you all a very happy and a healthy new year. Shana Tova.
No complaining. You get to sleep in tomorrow, 9 a.m. Could have been 8:30. 9 is good. Let us turn now to page 127, and we join together in the words of Hashivenu. That's a good concluding song, considering. Let us look to the future and look to the past. Please rise for Hashivenu.
Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Elecha, Venashuva,
Chatima Tova, everyone. May you be inscribed for a good and happy, healthy new year. Sleep well.